Victoria's Secret booked me as a model to walk in the fashion show. Oh my God.
This is Ronaldo.
YouTube now dominates
it's the
TV.
Most watched streaming service.
YouTube remains most watched streaming.
Criticism and we definitely talk about.
Hello and welcome back to the Just Church podcast.
Racing without gravity.
Watch this left side. Hey, we could just keep one door closed. We'll be all right.
Started tearing up the first second that it came up.
Gotta decide, do I really love this?
Welcome to Royal Court.
Are you serious?
Good mythical morning.
This is the world's most realistic lightsaber.
I do this without you.
I have to admit, it's hilarious.
We are about to be the first streamer inside of the pyramid shack.
This modern day philosopher, you know.
The alternative just sucks.
This is actually one of our 3 sound stages.
Everyone has been like, we need to see this mashup.
I've never done anything really the conventional way.
Change and setting up.
In the middle of the 4th quarter.
Because they're so highly scripted. But right now,
When was the last time you watched?
All right. Morning, everybody. I'm Sean Odlum. I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Tinuiti, and we are here to talk about YouTube this morning, and specifically how we are connecting brand investments on YouTube to impact on the business. Now, why specifically are we talking about this? You might be wondering, really we want to quantify the impact of everything that we are doing on the business, right? There's nothing anywhere we're not interested in that question. The reason that we are talking about it is because on YouTube, this is actually an unusually difficult problem, right? There are a lot of other platforms, surfaces, domains that we understand pretty well from a quantification and from a measurement perspective. You think about search, you think about social, but YouTube is a discovery platform. It is increasingly lean back, it is increasingly like TV, and many of you, I'm sure, out there in the audience know what I'm talking about when you say really quantifying and understanding the impact on the business of this channel is really difficult. The other reason that we're here talking about it is because if we can solve this problem, the opportunity is just really huge. Average daily time spent on YouTube is now about equivalent to Instagram, right? We all know what a giant productive ad platform Instagram is. So we see a huge amount of opportunity out there for really everybody, right? There's not a lot of brands out there that I can think of where I would think YouTube just doesn't make sense for you. You don't need to be there. So I have spent the past 18 months or so, and not just me, of course, this is a team effort, past 18 months or so working with the technical team at YouTube on a solution to what I see as a genuine problem. And that problem is that many marketers, many that we have worked with, right, clients of ours, our internal teams, just really struggle with the basic problem of, I would say justifying or even demanding funding, incremental funding for this particular channel, right? So, imagine you are a channel lead, you're a marketer, whatever it might be. You want to go to your CMO, you want to go to your CFO and say, I need more money for this channel because it is going to help us grow, because it has an attractive return on investment. And that person will then ask for some evidence, right? They're like, how do I know? How do I know this is going to work? How do you know that it actually is working? That has really been the hard problem with this platform. And it just, it's a problem that search really doesn't have, right? When you think about Google search, you think about Amazon search, right? This is at the end of the intent stream. There's just not a lot of ground to cover between spending $1 and making $1, right? It is really not a problem that social has, like Meta and the other social platforms. They have really solved this problem to an admirable degree. Marketers generally don't have a difficult time convincing their broader organizations that their investments in the platform are genuinely productive, are genuinely working, right? But YouTube is increasingly like TV, right? Again, it's TV-like, it is lean back, it's on the big screen, it does not generate many clicks. And so you really have this problem. And we've worked with so many clients over the years who, they run a 3-week, 4-week YouTube test, and we say, how did it go? Say, well, we're not really sure, right? It's hard to really get a clear understanding of the efficacy, of the impact on the business. And so rather than go ask for more budget for this, we're going to focus on other things that we know work, right? And so it's been this kind of very stop-start, on-off kind of thing. I personally have really wanted a better solution to this problem. Now we have, coming up on a decade of experience now, kind of understanding the potential here, right? This is not, in my mind, a highly theoretical question. Does this work? Should this work? Could this work? Would this work? Again, coming up on a decade and, billions of dollars invested now in streaming video platforms where we know we can really prove and we can really demonstrate efficacy. We've worked with many of you in the room and, over 100 brands over the last 8 to 10 years, establishing streaming video as a new productive performance channel, right? A place where you can spend $1 and make $2 and do that repeatedly and do that scalably. And we know and we're able to make very transparent and very credible to the people spending the money the fact that it's working because we have very granular, very high fidelity data on all these platforms, right? And candidly, that is what has been missing with YouTube. We just did not have that for that particular platform. So again, we have an understanding that this really does work and should work, and that it will work, but it all starts with the data. This has been a bit of an obsession of mine over the last, couple of years, honestly. We at BlissPoint and Tinuiti are very proud of our product and of what we have been able to achieve in terms of capabilities in the streaming video, in the streaming audio place over the years, right? Making this a way that our clients can grow their businesses incrementally. It has been, I will admit it, kind of galling to me that we didn't have a solution for kind of like the 800-pound gorilla in the video space, right? YouTube is now the largest streaming platform, right? It garners the most audience attention. I'm sure you've all seen these stats. And everybody is there, right? It's not just young people, it's not just old people, it's not just men, it's not just women. Again, any brand out there, whatever your business is, like your audience is almost certainly on YouTube. So the fact that we didn't have a solution for our clients for this largest platform in the video space was a problem to me. And it was a problem that I really wanted to go and find a solution to. So that is what we're here to talk about today. And I have a couple of friends who are going to come join me to tell you all about it. Brian, you want to introduce?
Hello everyone, I'm Brian Binder. I am a senior director on our innovation and growth team and one of our YouTube SMEs and been working in the platform for almost 20 years now.
Hey fellas. I'm Dena Ashford, Gardner. I am with Google. I've been at Google for, I think it's gone on 5 years, but I have a 20+ year career across all different areas. I've been in your seat as the brand. I've sat and been the agency gal for quite a while, and now I get a chance to lead a commerce team with many of your partners that are in this room today. So thanks for having us.
Of course, thank you for joining us. So before we get into the details on the measurement and the product, let's level set a little bit. The video ecosystem, rapid evolution, YouTube at the center of it, right? It's not the same platform it was 3 years ago. What has changed? What do you think is different about YouTube today, maybe than a couple of years ago?
I mean, what's different about it last week or a month ago? I mean, it's changing and it's consistently evolving. I think one of the biggest areas is that this is not just a space for video, right? This is a space that you're coming and you're connecting. You're seeing creators. You have this authentic ability to really curate your own experience on video. So YouTube is, we're there, and you said it earlier, the #1 place on the screen right now. So it's an exciting time for us all.
Great. I think you just hit this point. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and I think even more, I was talking to my kids about this, which they can't relate. I have an 18 and 20-year-old. I remember when TV Thursday nights at 8. I won't say what I was watching because it definitely will age me. But that was your prime time, right? That was must-see TV. When you think about video right now and the shift in that, you're the broadcaster. You're owning that experience. I also think about it as a shift in, as I mentioned, the creator economy. If anyone was at Brandcast last night, we had Alex Cooper there, we had Trevor Noah, and I remember early call me daddy and following those creators and becoming this fandom. And so you're connecting more and more in authentic ways with creators there. And then you really have an opportunity to shift from, hey, I'm the viewer, to I'm engaging, I'm connecting in a different way. And so video has definitely transitioned and transformed into something bigger than I think we all expected it to be.
Yeah. Great. All right, so I mentioned really everybody, functionally speaking, is on YouTube, right? It doesn't really skew hard into one demographic like some platforms do. And again, I think I try to think across our client roster: B2B, B2C, large, small. It's hard to think of a brand out there where it's like, no, your audience is not on YouTube. And something that I think is so interesting and so powerful, why the potential is there for the platform, is just that YouTube knows its audience so well, right? This isn't, YouTube is the new TV in a way, but it's, very different from, NBC back in the 90s, right? Just, purely broadcasting. YouTube knows a lot about who's watching and what they're interested in. So we're going to take a brief minute and give you a window into the soul here, what's on each of our YouTube homepages. How well does the algorithm know you, Brian?
Extremely well, probably better than my wife does. So a quick snapshot of just my YouTube homepage. I'm a big running fan and running enthusiast, and really into the running scene. So I was actually live streaming Cocodona 250 last week. So I was actually using YouTube to be a place to actually live stream content. So it's not just a place that you go and just watch on demand, but then also Josh Johnson, comedy scene. I watch a lot of old school music videos and get into a lot of the SNL and just a lot of the really great creators that I subscribe to. Also the interesting thing here is showing up on my feed is you're seeing an ad for a sneaker from Adidas, which is really relevant for me because I was just saying how I'm such a big runner and I look at a lot of the content. So it's also just a really interesting place to see not just content, but I'm also just getting things that are surfaced to me that are very relevant at that specific moment.
I didn't realize you're European. Adidas?
Yeah, that's the correct way to say it, Sean.
It is.
All right. I have to say mine is embarrassingly accurate. Arsenal content is probably number one on the tree. If anybody wants to talk about the West Ham game, you can find me after. F1 stuff for sure, house tours, and I highly recommend this Cat Waffles for anybody who is into that kind of content. It is premium stuff.
I think I'm up next. Oh, Bridgerton. No surprises here. I blush a little bit, but yes, I am big into music. I'm big into sort of how do I sharpen and train my brain. I love listening to and connecting with inspiring women and leaders, and I've become a big fan of the podcast with Emma Greed. So when I think about it, and you can see it here, for a music lover, my YouTube becomes a concert. My house is filled with music. It's not just in my hand, it's on my TV screens here. When I think about how I'm resetting my brain and how I'm getting my day started, I want to be inspired by some of the things that great and exceptional people are doing. And so when you think about YouTube, it's personalized. You have 2.8, I think, personalized experiences that you can create that's unique to you. And so just like the Adidas, or in my case, I'm in the market for something that is not going to be a gas guzzler. The ad that's showing up there, it is a custom experience for every user.
Yeah. I'm sure all of you are connecting these dots already, but the point again being when a platform knows its users so well, it helps both the, if you have a broad-based customer that you're going after, or you really need to thread the needle and find somebody specific, the platform gives you the ability to do that and to do it relatively efficiently. So, Brian, I'll go to you first. If you accept the premise, and you don't have to, that brands, sort of broadly speaking, not every brand, of course, but are underinvested in YouTube, or said differently, maybe that YouTube is underpenetrated in terms of the ad market. Why do you think that is?
So I do accept the premise. So we'll start there. But I think it really comes down to two challenges, right? So YouTube, as we were just mentioning, it's so big, it's so massive, it becomes overwhelming. It's search, it's shopping, it's social, it's streaming. A lot of times advertisers just don't know where to start on the YouTube platform. So we have this cold start problem. But then once we actually do get started, the next challenge that we typically have is, and you mentioned this earlier, is just the measurement. What's the efficacy that we're actually seeing from the YouTube investment that we have? So it really becomes more of a question of, not that YouTube isn't working, but it's just, it hasn't really been easy to prove it out.
Yeah, you've made a really critical point there. When I think about how we measure YouTube, it's like trying to measure an ocean with the ruler, right? If we look just through a narrow lens of the last click conversion, we're really missing and undervaluing. And we talked about the different audiences and how people are using it. And so I see it as, if you see the true rule of 1 + 1 = 3 of the impact of YouTube, we want to look at the total lift across the full funnel. That's going to be a really critical measure when we're thinking about that.
Brian, this is something that a topic that you and I dwell on a lot, so I'm going to tee up a softball for you here. What trade-off have a lot of brands, when they do invest in YouTube, what trade-off have they been making without necessarily being fully aware of it?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here is, like we just talked about, YouTube is just so massive, and when we start to think about just that measurement problem that we typically have, we normally start to silo ourselves or start to really get into a subset of the YouTube inventory, and we really miss out on the beauty and the impact and the power that YouTube could really have, particularly on the TV screen, working with creators and influencers. We know that there's going to be impact there. So it's really being able to go broader throughout the whole YouTube ecosystem and be able to get that power of YouTube.
Yeah. The way people have, I'm sure many of you know this, the way people have consumed YouTube has changed a lot over the years. I think 5 years ago, Dena, you can keep me honest here, it skewed pretty heavily laptop mobile, right? It was, like an internet platform. I believe maybe a year or two ago, crossed the 50% mark in terms of consumption on CTV, right? So CTV has been where the majority of the growth over the last several years have been, and this is just, evolution in consumer behavior. So a lot of consumption is on that screen. We have some stats here from our own internal data, demand gen campaigns that we run. I'm sure many of you are familiar with what that means. But this is really hey, if you're we need measurement, right? We can't invest in this platform without genuine evidence, genuine data about its efficacy. Basically, you do demand gen. And when you do demand gen, you get about 80% of your impressions on mobile devices. That has to do with signal fidelity and some things like that, but also significantly just the lean forward, clickable nature of the platform. And it means you're functionally not addressing more than 50% of the viewership, which is on the CTV screen. So Dena, for you and from Google's side, how do you think about the big screen? Is the big screen where all the action is and that's where people should be focusing, or stick with demand gen?
That's a big question. And again, some generational changes and challenges in my house of why do we have so many TVs in the room when people are using it in different ways. And so I would say that it's not necessarily an either or, it's a together. When you think about the consumer and this journey right now, we talk about it in 4 S's. People are streaming, they're scrolling, they're shopping, they're sitting there in front of their TV and in front of all of these different experiences. And so they cannot really be viewed in silos. It's the overall experience throughout the journey there. And so if you're only spending where measurement feels easy, right? Specifically with mobile, you're missing out on the first and most critical part of the journey. And that's, you're missing and counting the credits before you could see the entire experience there. So for instance, when you think about demand gen, and I'm looking at the stat, I'm squinting over here, so I have to look over here. When you're thinking about the stats there, it hits on the big screen, but also the importance of the handheld devices. And we actually see that 7% lift there when we think about conversions at the same ROI. And so this is a place that we definitely need to keep a pulse on, especially if we are staying connected to the organic consumer journey and the way our customers are shopping.
Great. All right, so let me talk about the the actual solution here, what a YouTube impression actually means to the business. Brian, I'll tee you up first.
Yeah. So really what we did was we sought out to have the questions like, what does a YouTube impression actually mean to a business? As we were talking about, we know that demand gen is a really great product that allows you to connect the dots, but it skews heavily mobile. So we really want to set out and understand, what does every YouTube impression actually drive for the business? Because we know that it is actually driving business impact.
Yeah. So let me sketch out the actual solution for you here, what we've been building to. We product people, many of us are fond of the phrase, make it as simple as possible, but not simpler than that. And what I'm going to describe is kind of relatively simple, at least conceptually speaking. Many of you YouTube viewers, which is probably most of you, you know that it is a heavily logged in experience, right? If you try to, open an incognito browser, you're not logged in, you're going to be immediately bothered. You need to log in, you need to authenticate, right? The point of that is, or the upshot is, almost every single impression on YouTube comes with a logged in, authenticated user identity, right? This is tied to your Gmail address or some other very high fidelity, very persistent signal. What we're doing is we're taking advantage of this fact, right? So think about every impression. It doesn't matter, it's mobile, it's CTV, it is wherever and however people are consuming YouTube. One big impression table with very, very heavy coverage and very reliable coverage of user identity. I would also mention that Google, probably along with Meta and Amazon, one of the strongest first-party graphs in the world, right? So, whatever, if you use your college email address, you use your, personal email address, whatever it is, Google can do quite a good job of really understanding who you are as a user. What we are then doing is taking on the other side our CRM integrations with our clients. So many of you in this room have been through this process with us, but this is really rooted in your own outcomes data. So whatever business impact means to you, right? Your currency of success, if that is a lead, if that is a subscription, if that is a purchase, right? We are going to be able to ground our analytical answers in your own ground truth, right? This is not based on a pixel, it's not based on some sort of a device signal, it's not a G-braid, kind of all of this stuff that we, worry a lot about. When we are in the world of device-based signals and measurement and attribution, we can actually really set that aside, and we can instead focus on and we can take advantage of the most persistent, highest fidelity signal on the internet, which is a hashed email address, right? So we have this highly reliable signal on both sides, and it is persistent, right? Your email address lives with you for, 20 years, more.
We can switch it
right?
now.
Yeah. Oh, yes, actually, you can on Gmail. I'm sure many of you heard about that. And we can bring these together. I'm sure you can see where this is going, right? So we can join YouTube exposures to your first-party data and understand in a deterministic fashion which of your conversions have been exposed to not just any, but a specific sequence of YouTube exposures in the last preceding 24 hours, 72 hours, week, month. Really, this gives us the ability to understand with a high level of fidelity, comparable to what we're able to do on other streaming video platforms, the causal impact that this platform is having on the outcomes that you care most about. So anyway, let's take a little look at the solution. So Brian, marketers in the room, like bottom line this for us. What do people need to know? What do they need to understand?
Yeah, so I think building off of what you were just saying when you were teeing it up, this really gives us the opportunity to understand what is the value of a YouTube impression across all different devices, across all the different inventory, and it really helps to distill down what is the YouTube impact that's having towards our business. Very simple terms, and it really provides a lot of opportunity for us to really understand how could we lean more into the platform and go above and beyond just the mobile device and demand gen.
I mean, this is pretty much a game changer for marketers, and I love having the conversation about measurement, and I love what this tool is able to do here. When we think about typical approaches versus this, we're seeing typically about a 20 to 60% lift of impact compared to standard ways that we're able to look at that and metrics. So it truly feels like a one-of-a-kind resource here. You have privacy safe. It's integrated specifically in some of the transparent practices that we are doing as well. And it's finally given the marketers and us and people that have to go to their C-suites and their CFOs to ask for more money, a way to get credit for the work that we're doing and the work that they're in decisions making that's happening on YouTube. So the transparency, I think you all figured it out. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. And you did mention, thank you, Dena, and I should have myself. You know, I mentioned, I think, again, the point I really want to emphasize is ground truth CRM data, right? You know, we all know about self-attributing networks and mobile ad IDs and app tracking transparency, like all the complication that this introduces, right? The fact that we are able to use kind of stand on bedrock, I think is important. And then privacy. Thank you for mentioning that. This is really why it took like 18 plus months, is because the privacy bar Google and ADH said is so incredibly high. The data summers. Anyway, but the point is, using your first party data, you don't need to have any concerns that this is not a gold standard privacy safe approach to understanding impact of investment. So let's look in our last few minutes at a couple of real world case studies, right? When we apply this approach, what do we actually see relative to the status quo?
Yeah, and this has been a really great opportunity for us to get a good understanding of just what is the difference between what we're seeing with the Google platform tracking versus what we could actually see with ADH, and what is that discrepancy? So we have a couple of pilot clients that we've been testing this with over the last couple of months. And in one example, we actually saw that looking at our YouTube measurement solution, we have a 142% increase in conversions that are being driven from YouTube versus what we're actually seeing in the Google Ads platform. And there's a variety of reasons for that, right? We talked about the cross-device conversion tracking, which is a little bit hindered when we talk about just like the Google Pixels. And then the attribution models, but this is really unlocking.
iOS being a big issue as well.
Yeah.
But this is becoming like a really big opportunity for us to see what is the real impact that we're having from a YouTube perspective.
Yeah, and I really think that this is the kind of blind spot that we've all dealt with a little bit as marketers, and we've struggled with for years. And so when you think and know the impact is there, but you're having a hard time really connecting the dots, this is where you can finally prove it. And so this obviously excites me personally, but this is perfectly complemented with what we're doing at Google. And it's making things like view-through conversions just a lot easier to understand and transform across here.
All right, one more.
Yep.
Brian?
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head with the view-through conversion as well, because that's a really interesting thing when we take a look at the impact and the power of creative that creative can actually have on your business performance, is being able to understand these YouTube impressions. If you have really great creative, it can lead to really great results. And we're also seeing that here from a revenue standpoint. So we talked about the purchases, but then also translates to revenue as well. 58% increase in revenue that we're seeing being attributed to YouTube with the measurement on versus what we're actually seeing in the platforms.
So it's given more of a holistic picture. It truly is.
And it's really a great way, we talked about this at Brandcast last night, but it's a great way to actually merge your brand with your performance, and it's really becoming all holistic. So now you can really open up the world of YouTube and leverage a lot of those high impact in the CTV inventory, because we know it's actually driving performance.
Yeah, and the point clearly, it's not to criticize Google Ads measurement, right? It's a very complicated problem, and Google Ads does a great job in specific instances, but it does have these blind spots, right? And this is why we rolled up our sleeves on on the product. So to bring us home, Dena, YouTube is a lot of things. It is a video platform, right? You talked about the 4 S's. It's kind of a social network. It's a commerce platform. I think it's the largest podcasting platform on the planet now. I don't know when that happens.
Keep it going. Come on. Keep bringing it.
So like what's happening and what's next? What is YouTube becoming?
I mean, it truly is a central hub for all things, just like you mentioned, from discovery to commerce to, the creator community to having the right content to create a cultural experience. It's all of those. And so when we talk, and this whole conversation has been about measurement, measurement is no longer nice to have or nice to do. We all are accountable for driving the answers of why it's working. And so it's not a nice to have, it's a must do, it's an imperative. And so if brands continue to look at YouTube as just video only, you will be left behind, because that's not how consumers are consuming and engaging in that way. So because YouTube rather is where your audience is, how are you prepared to make that shift and show up in that way?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're just on time. Dena, Brian, I want to thank you both so much for going through this, and thank you all. I hope it was valuable.